Nigeria, listen up. Over the past week on X, formerly Twitter, a serious conversation was rising. Concerned citizens warning fellow Nigerians about the proliferation of GMO seeds and food and the urgent public health risks that they pose. Now, instead of saying focus on Nigeria's failing medical, scientific, and even infrastructure systems, we got hijacked. What really captured our attention was the renaming of the iconic Charlie Boy bus stop in Bariga, Bagada to Olamido Bado bus stop. A debate over public memory and cultural recognition morphed into a tribalistic firestorm. Ethnic slurs were flown over, insults ricocheted, and of course the original conversation and the original discussion about food security, failing health systems, GMO exposure evaporated before our eyes. So I want to be clear here, right? Renaming that bus stop wasn't just a name change, it was symbolic erasure, rewriting a cultural history rooted in resistance. Charlie Boy wasn't only an entertainer, he was a voice against opposition and oppression. And that mattered to many Nigerians and most importantly, Lagosians. But rather than challenge that move on principle, Nigeria fell into tribal baiting. Does it sound familiar? This isn't the first time. Neither is this new. Our history is littered with ethnic manipulation that is used to fracture public focus. In 1966, more than 8,000 to 10,000 Nigerians, most importantly Igbo, from eastern Nigeria were massacred across the north, and that spiraled into the Biafra War. In 1953, riots in Kano pitted northerners against southerners after political debate turned into ethnic violence and killing scores. In Warri, between 1997 and 2003, there was also ethnic conflict as well. Over resource control displaced hundreds of thousands amid just bitter tensions between Ishekiri, Ijo, Urobo groups. I mean, if you tuned in on Sunday last week, you know what I'm talking about. And let's not get started on the Middle Belt. That's just. In 2008, election fallout stoked Christian-Muslim conflict that left well over 700 dead and 10,000 displaced. And back during elections, whether in 2015 or 2019 or even in recent times, 2023, ethnic bloc voting shaped outcomes. Politicians appealed to ethnic identity, not issue-based policies, while violence followed. Every time Nigerians get sidetracked by tribal bait, we lose sight of real dangers. The failing healthcare systems, the nurses just called off their strikes yesterday, the lack of scientific infrastructure, the threats like GMOs that we're currently being tackled with every single day, which holds actual consequences for our bodies, our gene, our lineage, our future. Now with the elections in sight for 2027, this trend is back. And it has to stop. It must stop. We must demand a focus. We must reject tribal baiting. We must not let tribalism win again. So here's my challenge to every Nigerian watching. If your timeline rings of hate and tribal slurs over a bus stop, I will say stop. Ask yourself, what are we really fighting about? Are we distracted? Remember that Charlie Boy was not a bus stop, by the way. He was a symbol of dissent, and that matter is bigger than which celebrity gets the plaque. When ethnic lines are drawn, I would ask you to ask yourself this question: who benefits? What agenda is being pushed? Don't be baited into division. Demand leaders to address our failing medical infrastructure, our failing education system. The GMO debate is at our front door. Food safety is important, and economic futures should not be rewritten because of cultural memory for just cheap ethnic points. It's very important we bear that in mind. And most importantly, hold yourselves accountable. Share content that educates, not enrages. Speak truth to power. Stand for unity, not division. because I'm starting to think that our diversity might just be our weakness in the end. We've marched past more horrors, more propaganda, more riots, more civil war cycles. The cost is etched in our memory, our national memory. If we fail to learn from our history, we'll risk repeating the same history. The truth is we can be better. We must do better. So as we head into 2027, let's head into that year with clarity, issue-based debates, unified purpose, respect for each other's histories. Let us reject tribalism, not fuel it. If we cannot rise above a bus-stop renaming, how can we solve hunger, disease, and injustice? I would say, and I hope you will, choose unity and not distraction, intelligence, not tribalism, and most importantly, truth and not cheap drama. We will bring you the tea right here on Breakfast Extra, by the way. You're welcome aboard. My name is TV Mizuno Appeal. My incomparable co-host is on standby. Mizuno, good morning to you.
Good morning. Interesting input there about how your timeline tells exactly how much of a bigot you might be. Ooh. I liked it.
Yeah, it is. Well, anyway, everyone, welcome aboard. Let's get started. We are out of time. I must tell you, we've got quite the lineup for you. Welcome aboard.
Well, after that, what can I say? But yet again, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. It's your weekend guide to the biggest stories, the boldest conversations, and of course, the most intriguing personalities across Africa and beyond. Well, here's what we have lined up for you this morning, and we're taking it in order. We begin in Rivers State, where the local government election saga takes a new turn. The sole administrator has appointed a new electoral commission chairman and fixed the controversial August 30 poll date. We'll break down the legalities, the logistics and politics behind it all, and then to Abuja, where the Senate has gone on annual recess until September 23rd, which, with major consequences, constitutional review proposals rejected and also critical bills pending. We ask, what happens to urgent national issues during this break? We also hear from everyday Nigerians in our perspective segments, asking them one simple but very revealing question. How well is your senator doing? Do you even know who they are? From there is Nigeria's opposition in the spotlight. The ADC-led coalition, boasting some of the country's most recognizable political names, can it survive internal cracks and actually challenge the APC in 2027? We will analyze. On Big Story, we mark World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, looking at the scale of modern-day slavery and what's being done to stop it. And on Extra, I'm excited about this one because we shine the spotlight on one of Nigeria's biggest icons, the area father himself, Charlie Boy Okuta, the entertainer, activist, and all-round maverick whose influence still shakes things up after 4 decades and plenty grandchildren. Our continental lens turns to Cameroon and Focus Africa, where opposition leader Maurice Kamto has been disqualified from the upcoming presidential race, a decision that could reshape the political landscape. So once again, we say welcome. All that and more here on Breakfast Extra. We're going to get started with the dailies in just about a bit. Once again, back to your... Ooh, we're looking like we've got the same shade. No, that's not brown.
No, we're not.
That's not brown. It's okay.
It bounces off each other.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
very
does,
nicely.
yeah.
Very nice. It goes with my socks.
Oh, yeah, that's
But that's not what we're here to discuss. So, the monologue. It's an interesting thing about how what we actually consume, we become what we consume. It only takes one little influence. You find something interesting on social media and then you begin to, you know, follow up, not necessarily research, but this leads to that. And then you find out that your timeline is inundated with the same kind of content.
Right.
But deep down inside, that actually shows your conscience, is what I tell people.
Right.
And it's very interesting that you should put it with what's going on in Nigeria currently.
Right.
And I found that very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that the distraction is, it's the fact that year after year, you know, decades in, Nigerians have still not realized that the tribalistic sentiments and chaos that they, or those things that they stoke at, you know, is used as a weapon, as a tool for distraction, for what truly matters, right? It happens every single time that the nation is at a pivotal moment. It could be an election. It could be, you know, when you think about it, when you think about every single time violence has happened in our history, there is something at stake there, but is always as a mirage to distract the persons from what's really happening. You know, look at the Middle Belt. Look at Benue. You know, this is the food basket. This is agriculture. Look at the other parts of the north as well, where we have, you know, mineral resources. When you think about the north, when you think about the elections, every single time there is something that is happening that is pivotal to the future of those inhabitants of that area.
Needs a distraction.
You know, that needs a distraction.
Well, to bring it back to Lagos State here, so
what?
your reference is that renaming that bus stop is a tribalistic punctuation as in it has a tribalistic note.
Yes.
Because Charlie Boy is, well, not a Lagosian at the end of
He
the day.
is.
Well, is he? He's from the east.
But he's Lagosian.
Well, so that's debatable.
Yeah. So, I think, I mean, from what I said in the script, and I would always still say that this is an erasure of a social cultural history. We all know why that bus stop was named Charlie Boy. He lived there. He led, you know, movements. He was for the reason why he was named Area Father was because of the Okada riders, right? He's he's a biker like yourself, right? And he has contributed, whether in the movement against oppression, whether in media, whether it's in television or music, he's done his own bit. You renaming a bus stop is erasing history and rewriting history.
But here's
That's
an
what it is.
intelligent infusion. What if times change and you need to remain relevant? What if the contributions of Olamide are now what the general public are actually noting, and that deserves a bus stop in itself?
So why rename another one?
Well, we're short on bus stops.
Yeah,
bus stops are finished.
So why must it be a bus stop? Because I really want to be clear here. I adore Olamide. I think he's a fantastic artist.
And he has made contributions.
Yeah. So, and I feel that that's also on the laurels as well. You don't need a bus stop to be immortalized. His music and videos itself is already, your music videos, your music, your television, whatever it is that you've done has contributed to media, is in and of itself already in the laurels of history. You don't need a bus stop to immortalize that.
I get you.
You don't need that.
Well, tell you,
and the reason why that bus stop is named that bus stop was simply because he lived close there, and that was the meeting point for when they started movements.
Yeah, that was the muster point.
Yeah, that was the bus point.
For all the Okada riders.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what, we're going to have Charlie Boy on the show here today, so we'll keep it away from that, shall we? Because there's plenty other things to talk about when it comes to his relevance currently in our social consciousness. But ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this morning by bringing you the dailies. And we're going to be starting from the Punch newspaper. I'm going to take that one here. The Punch newspaper, hang on a second. Let's do a little punctuation and we'll be back with the dailies. Now that we got that out the way, the Punch newspaper, Nigerians must go. Big on everybody's lips, big on our minds. There are so many ramifications to this. How Ghana's business rules, landlords' actions trigger xenophobic fear. Igbo community suspends Yam Festival. Traders allege restrictions. President Mahmoud promises safety of Nigerians and property. Bianca Ojukwu was over there at the end of the week, and I'm sure that there are talks that are being had now, and I'm sure everything will be under control. But trust me, there is so much to look at when it comes to this instance. It's like history in reverse. Falcons 150 million naira gift sparks outrage among retired soldiers. Core battling property. That was coming. Two Babas remarriage raises legal questions on divorce and bigamy. We're here again, Judith. We had this conversation where I told you that there are processes that might not have been followed in the previous relationship, and so you people should just leave the man alone. Scary tales of Nigerian mothers soothing babies with alcoholic drinks, and seeing kids return from school after my son died is Sockaway breaks. In Sockaway breaks me, says transporter. That's very interesting. I stopped corrupt colleagues from killing traveler with cash-filled bag, says retired DSP. And 800,000 fresh undergraduates to face NDLEA drug test from September. Judith, this one we talked about during the week on the news. And while I think that this is very interesting and it's a way to help curb drug abuse, I also think that it's also a system where you now start to stigmatize people, where you start to stereotype people who have a certain social culture. You there with your dreads, come here, drug test, and it's going to be legal. It's a can of worms, if you ask my personal opinion. Yeah, it's going to be the American instance where every black person is stopped by a white cop.
Don't we already do that already? Because
already.
Yeah, we do.
Already. So personal experience 2 days ago, driving to the office, I was wearing a beanie on my head, and I got stopped by the police. You know, and I'm like, is it because of the beanie I'm wearing? I'm a regular person. I'm actually, you know, I have a regular, responsible job.
Right.
But that's just a little bit of what I'm talking about, you know.
Right. I mean, what's also interesting is just that just the same, several of my kiddos, I call them kiddos, but my cousins, they have dreadlocks as well. Whenever they're riding in the car with me, they're cool, but when they're by themselves, I am certain they're going to call me and say, Auntie Judith, I've been stopped by golly. You know what I mean? Like, it's just always something. Good thing the papers are complete. But anyway, let's switch gears, shall we? It's time for us to bring you our big report for today. Now, it's been weeks of political drama in Rivers State, months at this point, from the declaration of a state of emergency to the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara and key government officials, including the former chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RSIEC. Now, in a move that has stirred controversy, the state's sole administrator, Ibok Ite Ibas, has appointed a new RSIEC chairman, and that's Michael Ode, who has already announced August 30th as the new date of the local government elections. Now we're going to bring you our guest because there's a lot of questions that are rising, critical questions. And number one is, was due process followed in that appointment of Michael Ode? But first, let's go on a short break. Stay with us.
To the discussion still on the matter of the Rivers LG polls as the sole administrator appoints new RSIEC chairman. Now, this decision is raising critical questions. Was due process followed in the appointment? Is there enough time for credible polls given the short notice? And more importantly, what does this mean for democracy and grassroots governance in Rivers State? So, to help us make sense of this, we're joined by Liborous Oshoma, legal practitioner, and also Enefa Georgewell, chairman of the Rivers Civil Society Organization, and Mr. Jake Ekpele, CEO of the Albino Foundation and political analyst. You are welcome, sir. Sirs, you are welcome.
Gentlemen,
good morning.
Good morning. Let me start with you, Mr. Oshoma. From a legal standpoint, the critical question has always been, can the sole administrator, validly appoint a new RSIEC chairman, a new Electoral Commission chairman after the suspension of the governor and, of course, the previous commission leadership?
Yeah, without wanting to go into the legality or otherwise of the provisions of Section 305, I think we have debated that enough. Section 11, until the Supreme Court determines one way or the other, if truly, by virtue of Section 305, anytime a state of emergency is declared, whether the powers of the state governors and the democratic institution in the state can be suspended. I'll leave that at that. By virtue of Section 11 of the Constitution, once a state House of Assembly is unable to make laws for the state, the National Assembly will take over the functions of that lawmaking. And so in the interim, I think the National Assembly, I watched the screening of members of the Rivers State electoral body at the National Assembly, including the screening of the Rivers State local government commission. I think where the lady, one of these ladies, if you remember, said she used to have a certificate and that she attended one of these scam school in West Africa. And the member of, during the screening, when I think he was a professor also for the electoral body, said that he's a professor and he has integrity. And Oshomole also said that professor and electoral bodies in Nigeria are not associated with integrity. So to that end, I will not, in all honesty, say that the appointment is illegal or invalid by virtue of Section 11 of the Constitution. The National Assembly haven't screened that, except the court rules otherwise, that in ab initio, by virtue of Section 305, you have no power to suspend the sitting governor. Because I believe, that's been my belief, that if you declare a state of emergency, you have no power to suspend the sitting governor. You have no power to suspend the State House of Assembly. But that had happened, it had happened, and the matter is at the Supreme Court. And every other thing that is done, if the court invalidates that process, then every other thing falls by the wayside. But otherwise, Section 11 empowers, the National Assembly to make laws for that state. But the instrument appointing the administrator, does it empower him to take the steps that he is taking? That's another question that will come into play. I have not seen that instrument that appointed the administrator, whether I gave him wide powers, as adopted by the National Assembly, whether I gave him wide powers to take the decisions, the steps that he has taken. That's my opinion on that matter.
Well, Mr. Oshoma, the worry for me is that it seems like the judiciary is becoming the authority now that's supposed to be handling matters that have to do with whether party politics or governance in Nigeria. But I'll leave that for now. Let me come to Mr. Ekpele. Now, Mr. Jacob Ekpele, it's very interesting that civil society groups are beginning to question the schedule that we have here. There's no time is what they're saying. There are activities that are posted like barely a day apart. So I'm wondering what you think regarding RSIEC's preparedness to actually conduct these polls.
Good morning. My organization I founded is TAF Africa. We have transited from the Albino Foundation to TAF Africa because we cater for all shades of persons with disability. I think what is playing out now is a perpetuation of illegality upon illegality. I don't know how much we can sort of melodramatically dance around this perpetuation of illegality and injustice to Rivers people. I was listening carefully to my very good friend Liborous, and I thought he would give us a final legal opinion upon the whole scenario that is playing out, where a man appointed will sit over a democratic process. And I keep wondering and I keep asking, and my friend will say, well, that is the law. Where is the place of morality? Must we use legality to a sort of marinate morality? Must we strengthen the people because we want to be politically correct? Where do we stop and understand the average Rivers people are the one bearing the brunt of this political, theatrical script that is being played out in my dear state? Please let me say it times that number. It is the people that I speak for. It is the people that matters. I am a true Rivers indigene by all shades. I don't have to live in Port Harcourt to be recognized as a Rivers indigene. I am from Opobo town, where Fubara comes from. So it's important, Opobo Kingdom, I'm sorry, but it's important to underscore the kind of political history that is being made today using Rivers State as a pond. We have become the political pond of the powers that be. And this is not too good. Back to local government election. And I'll say it point blank. I don't see this sole administrator who has become a more or less like a king, an emperor. I don't see him overseeing a democratic process when the process that brought him can be faulted, has a lacuna, like the lawyers will say. We cannot continue to make a mess of democracy and think we will get a good result at the end of the day. It's like a madman who will pick up a bottle, throw it in the air, put his head and think that it will not break his head. Listen to me, as much as possible, the people still holds the power, and one day we will decide who will rule us. And earlier they correct this injustice, because to me, it is an injustice to Rivers people. It is a slap on our face. It is a spit on our faces. And we must, all of us as Nigerians must speak out, because one day it will be the turn of your state, you know. So what is happening in Rivers State and what they are playing out is illegality, a perpetuation of illegality, an aberration of constitution, and the continued suffocation of the people of Rivers State. My heart goes out to every one of us. But one thing I know for sure, one day somebody will be held accountable for all this mess. I don't see myself recognizing this so-called sole administrator. He's illegal, his presence is annoying, his decisions are completely undemocratic, because sitting in that office, he is an undemocratic sole administrator. And I'm waiting. Let him go, let him come and go. One day, people like him will hold him accountable for how he has squandered our resources and continue to squander our resources, using himself as a conduit pipe, siphoning these resources to the people who sent him. One day, people will hold him accountable. He's
Right.
not. He doesn't have immunity, so he can be sued.
Right. Let me come to you, Mr. George Will. You are the chairman of the Rivers Civil Society organizations, and most of the civil society organizations, CSOs in the state, have raised concerns about the timeline of this election. But have you also felt the pulse of the residents and voters of Rivers State? Are they looking forward to August 30th?
I want to go straight to the issue. Rivers people, they are pulse, are they prepared, are they happy over what has happened? I think that while that measurement will be very difficult to make because of we haven't done proper statistics. But informal investigation and samples done around Rivers State shows that I can say that 80% of Rivers people are not happy with what is happening, and I assure you they are going to boycott the election, just as we have advised. And we are not doing this because we don't like Mr. President or the political gladiators, or we have any personal issues with the sole administrator. So rather with the legal sole administrator. It is because his presence there is annoying, is illegal, and totally unacceptable. First is not the creation of law. For whatever the pretense, we are operating a constitutional democracy. And of course, the laws don't recognize him holding sway. Even if you want to say, oh, there is okay, there is that Section 305 is saying, okay, when there is crisis, the president can directly intervene. The question we would ask is that why don't you manage the question of security, which is supposed to be a one-off thing, you know, and why do you not delve into other issues of governance that the Constitution has clearly said is the exclusive reserve of those who are elected constitutionally. And as of today, the person who has that authority to so manage the resources and Rivers people, and by Rivers people I mean indigenous and non-indigenous who are resident there, the person who has that constitutional power is the Rivers State government and our different assembly members representing us at the different constituencies. Which power is Mr. Ibas deriving his power to manage our resources, manage our people, constitute board, electoral board within our laws. Where is he getting all of these powers from? It is on this stand that we have to say that what is happening has nothing to do with insecurity, because it is about security. It's going to be a one-off thing. It's supposed to come here to maintain law and order, not to delve into other contentious and very serious issues like management of resources. And whatever it is worth, we have a precedent. Under former President Goodluck Ebele, the military intervened. But again, governance continued. The governors of those states, and this is the law, and this is what it is supposed to be, and not. I think there's even a contract. I think a contract also regarding, and where the court have clearly said that you cannot sack, that the president does not have the powers to sack elected governors of the state, and I don't have the record if that decision have been challenged. But again, on the specifics about August 30th. Now, I haven't said that the solar administration is illegal. I haven't equally said that if at all he's supposed to be here, he's supposed to be talking about maintaining law and order. We're going to further say that if he is now saying that he wants to conduct election, that there's considered a board that will conduct election, meaning he is automatically saying that there is peace. So if there is peace, why is he still there?
No.
Why is he here? What is he still doing?
Mr. Georgewell, very important questions you're posing there. Very interesting questions. But I have to get to Mr. Oshoma here because I have a very interesting question to ask him as well. Now, Mr. Liborous Oshoma, regarding this cloud of illegality that everything seems to be shrouded in, as all three of you have noted, one has to wonder about the credibility of the polls when they do happen. Do you think that these gaps, these legal gaps, these gaps are being put in place as an apparatus to allow for manipulation when the time eventually comes for, like you put it, those who sent him? And I'm referring to the sole administrator and, well, the bodies that be.
A Trojan horse.
Some issues here. I will throw punches. I'm not known to massage anybody's ego. So let's not pretend as if we are coming from a utopian river state. Anything that is happening in Nigeria today is caused by politicians. Any illegality that is happening in Nigeria today is caused by politicians. I am not one who believes in local government election. Let's get that straight. Because every local government election conducted by any local political party that is at the helm of affairs at the state, they clear the poll. What we have at the local level is an aberration, not even an election. So let's not pretend that, look, Rivers State was a utopian environment. What even led to the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State is something that is avoidable. I was on this same platform when I was shouting that Section 109 is not self-executory, that we are heading towards the worst of destruction, that there is no way a governor can sit down and decide that it is through his pen that he will recognize a state House of Assembly members. And so all of these are factors that led to the destructions that we're talking about today. And so let's not just exonerate the politician. Also, by the 2023 election, we saw how some persons went to the army headquarters to kneel down, begging the military to come and take over government. If we do not exhibit this kind of behaviors, then we won't be giving some persons the opportunity, the temerity to believe that you can just sack a democratically elected, governance in a state. Like my friend alluded to, when Goodluck Jonathan did it, he didn't sack the, a democratically elected government, and the current president, even condemned him then, that the state of emergency declaration was illegal. But when Obasanjo did it, he removed the democratically elected government. That is why, as a lawyer, I am waiting on the Supreme Court, and I hope that the Supreme Court will timeously take a decision on this so that we can put a finality to it. So any president tomorrow will not come and sit down and begin to use this same example. And let me also correct a statement you made immediately after I spoke. The law, the courts are not Father Christmas. The court do not just jump into matters. They are invited. It is the politicians, it is the actors, it is the people that invite them to come and adjudicate over this matter. The court doesn't just sit down and say, look, we want to interfere in your matters. So as lawyers, sometimes don't blame us when you hear lawyers begin to interpret matters the way it should be, or that the matters have been taken to court. Also, I am not here to interpret morals. I am here to look at strictly what does the law say. And then lastly, on the issue of the local government election, I have looked at the previous timetable. I have also looked at this current timetable. The question is, this local government election, there was a time, the local government election that was conducted by the Fubaran-led administration. I was in Rivers State when that local government election was conducted. There were issues. And at the end of the day, that same local government was still conducted, despite the fact that some persons raised issues about it. Just the same way we are raising issues about this one now. And the Supreme Court subsequently invalidated. Those that are condemning today, eulogize Fubara for going ahead and insisting, encouraging him that he must go ahead to conduct local government election. And we saw what that local government election, it was a charade. And we saw how, it became, how persons were just merely appointed into offices. And today we're on that same part again. That, look, there was a timetable that was released. That timetable was to conduct election in, I think, on the 7th or 15th of August. And so this River State reconstituted board is saying that what they simply did is to amend that old timetable to conduct election in August, which is also arguable, neither here nor there. But the question for me really is, if we truly believe that government at the local level is the government that is closest to the people, and every state governor conducts local government election the way it should be duly conducted, then we won't have all of these issues. If Fubara had conducted local government election the way it should be conducted, the same way you see every state governor conducting election, if all of them conduct election at the local government election the way it is conducted, we won't have all of this crisis in our democracy. So let's not begin to talk about morals when our governors do not even exhibit an iota of morals.
All right. Let's very quickly, very quickly, because we're out of time at this point. Ms. Ekwele, you are the head of an NGO that is about inclusivity, most importantly. Whether or not these polls happen, one thing is certain. We have to talk about credibility and most importantly, inclusivity. Just I'm going to put a pin on this question, but I will ask it. Do you think that August 30th, RSIEC will be ready when it comes to inclusion at the polls? That's the question. Well, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll take that question. Stay with us. You're watching Breakfast Extra here on News Central Television. Our guest today is Mr. Liborous Oshoma, a practitioner and lawyer. Also joining us is Mr. Enefe George Will, who is the chairman of the Rivers State CSOs in the state. And also with us is Mr. Jake Ekwele. He is the founder of TAFA Africa. Now, altogether, we've been talking about the appointment of a new chairman of the Rivers State Electoral Commission by the sole administrator, and also the legality of that appointment, as well as the credibility of the polls, the local government polls, which is now slated for August 30th. Now, before the break, we're talking about the legal implications of this and whether or not this should be happening, this election should be happening under the sole administrator. Before the break, I was asking you a question, sir, Mr. Ekwele, and it was about the preparedness of the sole administrator, the electoral commissioner for the state ahead of the polls, putting in mind inclusivity for the local government elections.
Thank you very much. I want to say that, when people try to analyze issues in Rivers State, we shouldn't cherry pick. no point accusing fingers. Let's discuss objectively and dissect the issues so that we don't end up confusing viewers. The problem in River State started with federalism. It started with a certain block of Rivers indigenes that believe that it's their right to determine who leads the people, even though they're just a handful of people. But I'm not going to go into that. The problem of who controls the resources, power play, and all that, I'm not going to go into that. Let me answer your question specifically, but also to say that sometimes lawyers think that when they go to court, they leave their emotions at home. They don't want to talk about morals. They just want to face law and speak on the legality of a process or issues, and they forget the fact that they are human, they have conscience, and I'm a friend of the lawyers. I'll be speaking at the upcoming MBA in Enugu. But let me be pointed. It is important to underscore the fact that even the so-called sole administrator, and I say so-called in capital letters, he has not even identified with the community of persons with disability. I went there, and I'm very strategic the way I analyze and in what I do. I went there, and I think New Central supported us, and we did a focal group discussion, brought persons with disability, interrogated, have we been factored into this makeshift kangaroo arrangement in River State? Has the administrator reached out to any person with disability or the community of persons with disability? The answer is in capital no. So I don't believe, and I'm a big player in in electoral space in this country. When I say I, my organization, I don't believe they have the capacity to conduct an inclusive election. What we're going to have is an exclusive handpick of individuals that they want to play out their script. Look, the forthcoming local government election is not going to be inclusive. I don't think they have the capacity to administer an inclusive election, recognizing persons with disability, either to contest or even to vote. They don't have the instrument. They don't have the framework. They don't have the electoral adaptive devices, except they will start today. But no matter what you do, you cannot sugarcoat a very bad buns or try to give another color to a bad apple. It is not possible. Okay. So this election is not going to be inclusive, not in how many days. It is practically impossible because you have to educate the RSIEC or the local government electoral body. You have to train their staff that will be deployed. You have to train CSOs to understand inclusivity and what is required. Somebody has to interpret the Electoral Act 2022, subsection 54, section 54, subsection 1 and 2, which empowers the electoral body to administer an inclusive election. By the way, I think my organization, we are observing the process, and this time around, we're going to test the law at the end of the day. So you see, we cannot continue to allow this shameful show of shame to continue in a state like River State. They are interested in our resources. They are not interested in the people.
All right, Mr. Ekpele.
And this, we must not allow this to continue.
All right, Mr. Ekpele. Mr. Oshoma, let me come to you, but we only have about 3 minutes, so I'm going to be very fast. Legal implications in view, note that inclusivity has been discussed, and then let's talk voter perception. What must RSIEC do now to be able to restore voter perception of their, well, how they're managing the issues of polls coming up?
Foremost, the law is clear that you must give 90 days to the conduct of election. And so if the RSIEC is saying that they are amending the previous timetable that was given, that timetable, how well have they carried the people along? How well will they, haven't just been appointed by the National Assembly, can they, in all honesty, conduct election given the time frame that they have? And then also they should have in mind the legal challenge of that 90 days. Can you amend a timetable that was issued by a SAT, electoral body? And that timetable, when the body was sacked, was that timetable subsisting as at the time they were sacked? Did they state to the politicians and to the local government participants, not the political parties, that the timetable that was issued is still subsisting and we're going to follow it? Or they just came up with this timetable to also say that, look, we're just going, because of time, we're going to amend the existing timetable. These are legal issues that will eventually go to court. But the question is, why don't we avoid all of this legal issue? Because the politician, there is no way you can analyze Rivers State crisis without talking about the actions of the politicians. Because the politicians consistently, there are for and against. There are some persons who also believe that if election is conducted by a particular bloc, they will, be excluded from the election. And if the election is conducted by this also particular bloc, the other set will be excluded. If there is no trust, no matter who is conducting the election, there's always going to be a problem. So I believe personally, these are my opinion, that the time is too short to conduct a credible election at the local government level, because I'm a believer in the grassroots. And then on the issue of funds for local government, people being interested in the money of Rivers State, I want to also say that I took a study of the budgets of Rivers State previously and the current budget of Rivers State and some other states, and I discovered that our governors are just committing blue murder all in the name of budgeting. Take the CCTV line item in Rivers State budget. In the year 2023, there was 72 billion budgeted for Rivers State. In the year 2024, 58 billion for the same CCTV for Rivers State. And then in the year 2025, 28 billion. How come this was under, our civilian administration? If our behavior as politicians do not encourage this illegality and wastage of resources, both at the local government, at the state level, and at the federal level, then some of us would not be at a loss. It would just be a one-liner to say, yes, this is illegal and it should not be condoned. But as illegal as it is, there are issues that are coming up also that I cannot close my eyes to. So those are my worries. Those are my challenges. These are illegality. Local government election, I believe, is too short. The time is too short, considering the fact that you must at least give 90 days, 3 months. But the crisis here is, what if the the political party in office, the governor, what was the outcome of the election he conducted? Was it inclusive also? It was not inclusive. What is the conduct of the elections conducted at various state levels? Is it inclusive? It is not inclusive. Should we continue like this? These are the crises that politicians need to spare us and answer for us. It's not about sentiment. It's not just about law, but about coming inside and asking ourselves the basic questions. Why don't we do it right? If we do it right, nobody will have the moral standing to come and truncate a process that is, upright and running. That's basically my point.
Thank you very much,
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, we wait to see how this will play out, in just how it will play out in the public sphere. And most importantly, whether or not we'll just wait to see how this plays out. All eyes are now on the state governor, rather the sole administrator, the commissioner, as well as, the polls coming August 30th. But finally, George, let's just hear your final thoughts. What would you say? Do you think that there will be a pause on the polls, or would it continue until on said date?
Like you have said, that what is happening is a national shame. It's not just about Rivers. It's about the very wrong precedent, bad politicking attempt by the federal government to hijack governance in Rivers. The lawyer in our midst is struggling very hard to compare lime with oranges. What is before us is not whether politicians are corrupt or whether elections are due process of elections are followed. That is not what is before us. And let me say it for free, that the election conducted by the governor of Rivers State had issues, especially legal issues. We condemned it with procedural issues. We condemned this election. But what we are saying is, whether or not the sole administrator have the right to conduct elections for us, if they now say that they are following the timetable as outlaid by the board set up by the governor of Rivers State, we are now saying, why then did you not sack the board if they are doing the proper thing? Secondly, can you, a new board set up illegally, now derive power from a dissolved board? Not that the board the tenor of the board are spared. No, that you for whatever it is worth, whatever reasons that only you can explain, you came in here to maintain peace when there is even no war. You came in here to maintain peace, and you begin to dissolve an existing board constituted by an elected governor of the state, and you now brought in your own illegal board, and the next thing you are telling us that you are deriving your powers, you're going to continue from where they stop. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense, and of course, it defies our logic. But the truth of the matter is, like we have rightly said, that Rivers people should boycott these elections. All of us should be mobilized to the courts, if need be, after we must have held our GA, the General Assembly of our Civil Service Elections in Rivers State. If need be, we are going to do a street march opposing the elections. We are going to approach the court to oppose these elections, and of course on this illegality. That is what is before us. It is not whether or not elections have been free and fair.
Mr. Judge,
elections conducted by governors have been free and fair.
Now, Mr. Judge, we want to say thank you very much. We were just about to say thank you to all three of you, gentlemen. But, Mr. Liborous, you have 1 minute because I see you are agitating for 1 minute. So just 1 minute to give you what it is that's itching you.
I have not said here that I believe in the conduct of that local government election. I believe clearly that the sole administrator does not even have the powers to conduct a local government election. It is not within its place. I have not said that. But what I am saying is that we got to where we are today because the politicians also played into the hands of whoever is out there to destroy, the democratic structures in Rivers State.
All right, then.
If I were a politician in Rivers State, I will not participate in the election.
All right, then. Well, I want to say thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Jacob Bella, Mr. Liborous Oshoma, Mr. Enefa Gotwell, thank you for your very robust yet very digest opinion and contributions here on this topic. We've actually enjoyed this. Thank you very much. We're going to now go into our next segment. Judith, we have perspective, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. Now, the big question now is asking, we do know that our Senate, as the House of Senate, all our senators have gone on their annual recess and they would not resume until September 23rd. But they promised to be the voice of the people. But how well are they keeping to that promise? In a democracy, elected lawmakers are meant to represent the interests of their constituents, sponsor meaningful legislation and provide oversight and governance. But beyond the debates and motions at the National Assembly, many Nigerians say they hardly feel the impact of their representatives. So, how do you rate your Senate? Are they doing enough to earn your vote and your trust? We hit the streets to hear what a cross-section of Nigerians think about the performance of their lawmakers at the Senate. Take a look.
Well, when it comes to Lagos generally, they are doing well. But when it comes to the senators representing us, it's a thing we don't even know the senators. Not because we are nonchalant about what's going on in the country. It's just that, there is not a platform whereby the people are able to know the senators represented ourselves. So just few people will be able to know that, okay, this is this senator, this is his position, this is what he does. So in a situation whereby people can't even identify their senators and what they are doing, how are they going to know that, senator this, did this, or did that?
Honestly, I don't vote. I've never voted, and I won't vote. So, why? It's not my way. I don't really. I'm less concerned about anything politics.
We have local government, Ikorodu West local government. I live behind it. But now, I don't know my senator. I don't know the name. So I'm in need. That's why we are a member of APC. We have not got anything from our people.
I don't know anybody. I had no clue what they are doing, who they are, how are they to us, I don't know. My honest sincerity, I don't vote because I don't believe in Nigeria voting. That's just it. Because it's a scam. I don't waste my time for it.
One, I don't know them. I don't know the senator. Neither do I know who is representing us. Because I know we want to vote to people. You should know the people you want to vote for. They should be able to come out and tell us. And even if they come out, so many promises that we have heard from the past ones, and they are yet to fulfill all of these promises.
I'm actually as a concerned son who was born, brought up and grew up in Kuka local government, a nestled town located in northern Borno. I can confidently say that I have never seen or witnessed a senator who is grassrooted, a senator for the people, who is representing the people. And then, you know, when we say legislature, we know the duty and responsibility of a legislature, which is to sponsor bill, actually to also move a motion. So when we talk about sponsoring a bill, Senator Mahmoud Tairu Bangono is the highest bill sponsor, even in the country, not only Borno State or northern Nigeria.
Ndume has done tremendously well in his constituency. Among many things Ndume has done, the sponsorship of Federal College of Education, Goza. He has built a dam in Rimurgo, in Askro-Uba, meant for dry season farming. He has built 100 housing estates in Wayakusar. He has provided for solar security lights in all the 101 wards. He has equally, under his project, Water for All, Ndume Water for All project, he has equally provided solar boreholes in all the 101 wards in the senatorial districts of Southern Borno.
I think as a first-timer, Barrister Kakashew Lawansan has done so much that many of his predecessors could not actually be able to do. One of the most landmark achievements of the senator in our constituency is the fact that he was able to sponsor some bills that led to the establishment of, Federal University of Agriculture and Entrepreneur, Bama, as well as Federal Medical Center.
Welcome back inside the 9 o'clock hour, our first big story this hour. Now, with less than 2 years until Nigeria's 2027 general elections, the opposition landscape is in flux. From defections to coalition talks, from mergers to bitter internal wrangling, the political chessboard is being reset. At the center of this storm is the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, the acronym on everybody's lips now, is now fronting a coalition of some of Nigeria's most recognizable political figures, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Ralph Aregbesola, and also David Mark, heavyweights. But while the alliance is being billed as a third force to challenge the ruling APC, cracks are already showing. Key players have not committed to a single platform. Internal disputes are spilling into the public, and critics question whether this is about ideology or simply a quest for power. Here's News Central's Sagir Ibrahim with an explainer on the new coalition and the political battles ahead.
We will bring you that explainer in our subsequent bulletins. In the meantime, we want to bring into the conversation now, just to go in depth into Nigeria's opposition and what the heavyweights have in store and the future of Nigeria's opposition in 2027. First, we have Sagir Ibrahim, News Central's correspondent, and also joining us is Dr. Sam Amadi. He's a director of the Abuja School of Political Science and Thought. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start with you, Sagir, right? You brought us that explainer. Unfortunately, we can't bring that video, but we did play the visual earlier on in our subsequent bulletins throughout the week. And you really just chronicle the ADC and what it has now morphed into being a coalition or a party. But what's the biggest characteristic of this party that stood out to you, besides it being an association of unlikely bedfoes?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Mans. Pleasure being here. Good morning, Dr. Sam. Well, for me, I would say it's seeming to put together quite a number of all of those politicians who, for a long time, from after 2023 till this point, have been very vocal in the opposition and also, have not wanted to be associated with the opposition, but then have some weight. So it looks like a coming together also of strange bedfellows, if you let me put it as that, who are hoping that this time they will get it right, especially with the mix of individuals like Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate, and also Rotimi Amechi, all of whom at one point in time vied for the highest office in the land. So it's looking like all of these individuals, are willing to come together, put aside whatever differences that they have in the interest of power and in the interest of Nigerians, like they said, and in the interest of the progress of the country, vie once again using this platform and hopefully get to the highest office in the land.
Dr. Mahdi, Nigerians have heard third force before. It's not the first time. Sagir just told a few people who vied. But has any of them ever succeeded? I don't know if memory serves me right. Not really. So in this case, with this new third party, the ADC, and its very many big names that are inside, do you think they stand a chance against the APC or the PDP? Dr. Amadi.
Bear in mind is that they said, politics is based on precedent, but also politics can be innovative. Politics can change. Things that have never happened could happen. But first is to understand what's going on here. In 2015, we had what we now call a merger, which is different from a coalition in this sense. But again, a merger of political parties and political actors. And that gave us the first instance of an incumbent party being defeated in the presidential election. So then I think this ADC is trying to borrow that script. And the notion that's common to both is the coming together of political actors. It is true that APC was a merger of Tinubu's party, Buhari's party, and then you had some work of APGA and the so-called new PDP. Now you have equally the same thing, actors who define those political parties coming together. So you have the same Amechi and Atiku, who led the breakout of the NPDP, now in the coalition. You have Arebushala, who is an APC person, though not as prominent as we say Tinubu or Buhari, now also coming. We have David Mark, PDP stalwart, former Senate president 2 times, coming to lead also the parliament. So it's like this is déjà vu in the sense that the same politicians opting out and creating something is similar. The only difference is that PDP and other parties have not come to merge to form the coalition. What's their prospect? 3 things determine it. One is the lack of popularity or otherwise of the ruling party. In 2015, the APC leveraged on propaganda, likely true, likely not true, and against the PDP. The PDP was quite indolent. The PDP was somewhat self-indulgent, because of itself, not responding to perception and reality of corruption, because there are two elements. The reality is there, the perception is more than that. They allowed the APC, using the media, civil society, to create a coalition against them, and it was too late. Now, the APC that orchestrated that hostile takeover understands the landscape well, and you can see they are also trying to dilute and mitigate the danger that ADC-led propaganda could hurt them. And yesterday, you saw Tinubu Villa having meeting with the social media activists of the party. It didn't happen under Jonathan. I remember I was in government, but wasn't part of the partisan group, but I was part of the strategy group sometimes, and I was wondering why Jonathan could not come out more forcefully to speak against corruption. Because I felt that was the issue they were using, sometimes wrongly. So, first lesson is that the PDP, the same issue, this government is not delivering. PDP was delivering more. This government is failing security economies. But unlike PDP that was not active and preemptive in their communicational strategy, this government is active and preemptive. So we're not seeing the same level of disillusionment. We're not seeing the same level of bandwagon effect that we saw in 2015. It might still come, but not as large as it was then. The second factor is the political capital of the leaders of this coalition. Well, which is 10 million or so votes. Here we happen to be with some significant, close to that. We have Atiku. So the question is, are they going to be as powerful to drive the same turnout and deprive PDP, APC win, just like APC deprived PDP? Thirdly, electoral reform. I don't think this coalition is fully integrated. The outcry was, we're rigged. And surprisingly, the coalition that should have adopted electoral reform as its signal project now, because it has the capacity to mobilize everybody. It's not doing that. So I see some tactical error. First, the way they entered into the ADC could raise some legal challenge. Secondly, the fact that they are more concerned with distribution of power at this point rather than mobilizing the people. So I think they can, but they have not yet shown clarity in the capacity to do that right now.
Mr. Mahdi, it's very interesting that Judith, sorry, you wanted to ask you a question. Go ahead.
I mean, you just really chronicle, the future of opposition and what really the coalition should be standing for instead, and really the distractions that is at play here. But Sekir, let me ask you, some of the big names in this coalition, they are juggernauts in their own right, whether it's Atiku, Obi Amechi, or El Rufai. Now, El Rufai's membership, as well as Obi's membership, and Atiku has somewhat been have come to the fore, whether they have formally joined the party or the ADC or not. But it brings to fore the uncertainty of the coalition's credibility. Do you think that their membership or not will affect? Apologies, sir. But that's for Sekir. Just a second, sir. Do you think that their membership would sort of affect the uncertainty of the coalition's credibility?
Yes, that's one of the challenges. Thank you, Judith. That's one of the challenges that seems the party has ahead of it. Settling and addressing all of the issues regarding membership, especially for those who we perceive as the big wigs of the party. For instance, up until this moment, there's still some members of the party initially led by its former chairman, Ralph Osu, who say that the coalition's intention to use the ADC to run in 2027 seems to be like an elite power grab, the description especially used by the former presidential candidate of the party, Dumedi Kachiku. So you see, even within the party structure itself, not everybody is happy with the fact that this coalition has come and are using the ADC to run. So there's that issue. And then there's also the issue of membership of other members who are yet to declare openly whether they are members of the ADC fully. We have the likes of Peter Obi, who, initially had mentioned in the past that he remains a member of the Labour Party, but also intends to run, for president. We also have of course, Rotimi Amechi very recently moved to the ADC. That has been made public. But for other members of the coalition who have declared support for the ADC, it's still yet to be known whether they've left their party, their previous parties fully, and are fully members of the ADC and are willing to work to ensure that this party emerge. But these are areas that the party has to address at the moment and settle, so it doesn't come back later in the future to cause a major crisis for them. Because, one of the reasons why many of them in the first place are saying they are leaving their parties to this current party, the ADC, has been because of recurrent crisis as well. So addressing these issues right now at the moment has to be one thing that the party would consider, going forward so as to address or get some form of stability.
Dr. Mahdi, let me come to you regarding ideology now. Many people look at the coalition and the names inside of the coalition and can ascribe to them their different ideologies, or philosophies at least. When it comes to Peter Obi, people think, well, he wants to help Nigerians, especially with his following from the East. When it comes to Mr. Atiku, well, people are a bit confused about exactly what he wants to do. And also the other members, some highlight their standards, this or that, but they all have different, what it will seem, ideologies. Does the ADC have a specific ideology? And how does it, or the lack of it, affect people's perception of the party or its credibility at helping topple the APC or the PDP? Dr. Mahdi, that's for you.
Yeah, are you hearing me?
Yes, we
Loud and clear.
Yeah. There is a new Nigerian politics that we don't need ideology. Some of the actors say, look, what ideology is Tinubu and APC driving at? Look at Buhari. Buhari and Tinubu are biased apart. One could be called the feudal, maybe conservative political structure of the CPC and the quasi, some would say, pseudo-progressivism of the ACM. So what's ideology? Or look at APGA that joined them. So essentially, where we are in Nigerian politics now, it's a very terrifying realism. It's all about power. Grab the power, as Tinubu say, smash, grab it, and run. And so I think the proprietors and proponents of the coalition may have borrowed from Tinubu to say, you know what? We forget about ideology. It's about power. And that's dangerous for Nigerian democracy. And that's the reason why APC failed in the last, from 2015. If you look at Nigeria's economic trajectory, 2015 was the deadline for the decline that we are going through now, based on GDP or other indicators. Why? Because a coalition that was miscoalition in terms of misalignment of tendencies and profiles took over power in a brutish way, and there was chaos. We saw Tinubu quite didn't probably like the way when he was running, but he needed to keep calm, to win power. Once in a while, RFI wrote against the president. So it was just about power, and then not know what to do. So today, we are faced with also the question of power, and that's partly why some supporters of Mr. Peter Obi seem to be perhaps reluctant or not fully signed up to the coalition. Because they are asking, like Mr. Peter Obi says something like, I want to be coalition for the good reason, for Nigeria, for change. I'm not too mad about power. So the question is, what are people coming together to do? What key policies should guide it? And I think at this point, the party, the leaders of the party, there are some brain trust around this coalition, apart from these notable leaders. They should sit down together and craft real transformative policy framework, policy pillars, which they will sell to Nigerians. Forget the tendencies of their leaders, but the problem is that Nigerians have not known that actually the parties don't rule in Nigeria. I mean,
but Dr. Mahdi, must they sell these ideologies to Nigerians, or must they identify exactly what kind of ideology Nigerians need going forward? And have they done that?
It's both sides. First, leadership is about defining, helping people know what they should do. For example, Nigeria is in a crisis mode now. You don't go and do plebiscite and ask the common people who are struggling what philosophy or theory. The responsibility of political elites is to construct from the experience of the people, from keeping in touch with them, an explanation of their problem, a diagnosis of the problem, and a vision of transformation. And that's what Lee Kuan Yew or Deng or General Park. All great leadership is about leaders themselves explaining what people are going through and providing for the people an explainer and a part of transformation. So this is a problem now. The problem is that in the Nigerian history of Nigerian presidency, it has never been a presidency that a party, apart from PDP, that seemed to have some coherence throughout their 16 years. So you can see Obasanjo, policy continuity. Yar'Adua was a different person, a stoic, Puritan, honest guy, but he kept the major framework of that policy with some of his own sincerity, and of course he became sick and was captured. We saw Jonathan kept to that and put his own personality, soft than Obasanjo, not swashbuckling. But look at PDP. So the APC now is Tinubu's administration. It's defined by Tinubu's personality, Tinubu's ethics, Tinubu's political economy. Many people say we have too much corruption, we're having all people who are part of Tinubu in Lagos. The question then is that presidency in Nigeria has now become a matter of personality. And some people say, well, what's the party for? If Peter was president, then I started this will expect. It doesn't mean if someone else runs on Labour Party, assuming Peter didn't run and that he ran, or let's say Atiku ran on Labour Party, you expect a different governance. So in 2037, Nigerians are likely going to say, yes, we'll like the coalition against Tinubu. But it depends on who is the presidential candidate. Because we know that parties don't make any difference. The APC is, the Tinubu government is not running as APC in terms of APC policy. Look at APC came on restructuring. Buhari ditched it. They even set up a committee led by El-Rufai, and they prescribed some devolution of power framework. Buhari ditched it. So it's now, Nigerians are now saying, you know what? I'm going to be deceived by the label of ADC. Or we're going to ask a question around who is going to be president, by the way. And so that's why this debate now is about who is going to be at the tip of the ticket of ADC. Can he energize Nigerian hope? And so if the illusion is that, okay, we'll bring a coalition, they will put anybody there, they will fail. The reason why largely APC worked was because of Buhari's, before now, was seen as honest. People diagnosed the crisis as Jonathan being, government being corrupt, and the answer was Buhari, who was largely seen as honest. Now, Jonathan was soft on security, which was a framing. Buhari, being a soldier, we crush these terrorists and rescue our communities. Buhari failed all of this, but the messaging was coherent. Based on the narrative and the framing of Buhari as this honest, now we know he wasn't that honest as presented.
Right.
So now, let's expect a narrative around who is that guy. So APC's future lies in a
just a second, Doctor.
Doctor, we're out of time, but I really want to squeeze this in, right? You made a valid point about who will clinch the ticket, the presidential ticket for the ADC, and maybe that might make or break the coalition, given that all of the Jagnots who joined this coalition all have presidential ambitions. But away from that, let's look at the entirety of the opposition landscape. The Labour Party is split in the middle with the Abure-led faction and the Nenadi-led faction. One faction saying that they've expelled their presidential candidate for 2023, while the other says it's fully in support of Peter Obi. There's also the PDP as well, and Oshoma has now come to the fore in terms of the PDP, as Adeleke is now saying that he is not joining the ADC, but still would not say what umbrella he's going to be under ahead of 2026 governorship if he's going to run for a second term. Then there is also Dino Malaye, who's also, by the way, now defected from the PDP and now officially joined the ADC. The question, who is a strong opposition? Who would lead opposition going into 2027? Everyone seems to have the curse of the opposition. That's what I like to call it.
Okay, can he explain to me what you said so I can answer? I wasn't hearing you well.
Oh, my sincerest apologies, sir. I chronicled all of the opposition and all of the issues they seem to be facing. The PDP, the mass defections that is on there. Can you hear me, sir?
The mic is wobbling. The mic. I can't hear you well.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Let me try, Dr. Amadi. I think what we're trying to ask is this. With the situation of the different oppositions, who seems to be in the lead? Is it the ADC? or the or the PDP? I'm hoping we still have Dr. Amadi, if we can get confirmation on that. Otherwise, I might have to ask Sagir, since you've been following the matter and you've been testing the pulse of the people from the seat of power, who do you think the people are seeing as the best opposition at this point, Sagir?
And the rain falls on me. I really wish that doctor would just miraculously come back.
Well, no, you're stuck with it.
Why are you always running away from my questions?
You're stuck with it.
But then, well, let me try. So it's a tricky situation, yes, considering the fact that the ADC, the coalition as it is still gaining momentum, if you would call it that. We do not know whether any of the arrangements that we are seeing is permanent yet, if you would call it that, because, I mean, people can still leave. Interests are still coming in. And so long as the party is open and these interests continue to come in, like Doctor said earlier, right now it's a matter of power sharing. And until these interests are satisfied, we cannot make any hypothesis now to say the figures we are seeing right now are the figures that will run the party in 2026, for example, or after a major convention that it has had.
Let me pause you there, Sagir. Let me pause you there, Sagir. And I'm wondering if Dr. Amadi got the sense of what we're talking about now and if he wants to contribute. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Can you repeat the question again? I can hear you well.
So I was asking about the future of opposition. All of the opposition parties, whether it's the ADC, Labour Party or PDP, they seem to not be taking the lead. They seem to be falling in itself. Who will take the lead in the future of 2027?
Okay. So the future of opposition, in my view, as of now, we will stand down PDP as opposition until PDP shows it can create a coherent body. PDP is no longer the opposition to APC. It's now ATC. And individually, it's now P2B and Atiku. Primarily P2B because he has taken upon himself to really oppose the government. Look, opposition party is a party that's opposing government. The party that takes their policy, their positions, attack them, and attack them consistently. PDP right now is no longer opposition party. PDP might bounce back if they deal with their crisis, namely, how do they manage Mr. Wike, who is clearly interested in working for Tinubu and killing the party, at least for now. So for me, I put PDP as a party in intensive unit. If it gets out of intensive unit, it might surprisingly bounce back with strength. It has the structure, but those are moribund and retarded. Now, ATC is a leading opposition party. But so far, I think the leadership, they are fight and strategizing and working behind to undermine each other in terms of the ticket. Might be they are doing. So far, their publicity guy is doing well. So perhaps they should construct leadership away from the real actors for presidential battle, be Atiku and Amechi and others, and have a structure of policy and communication that is not beholden. The problem with them is that most of their communicators are already captives to these political leaders. So
right, then.
Their communication is muted and conflicting.
All right, then.
I think that the 2027 opposition will be led by individuals, P2B, Atiku, and whoever else who is willing to present Nigeria's anger against the ruling party, articulate a way forward. That's the opposition. We're moving from parties as opposition to individuals as opposition in 2027.
Individuals as opposition in 2027. We saw that type of trend during the military rule. Hopefully we don't see that. I wonder how that will play in the democratic climate. But many very insightful discussions, both of you gentlemen. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, for, well, your very interesting, insightful opinion here. And Sagir, now you need to thank Dr. Sam Amadi for saving you from that last question. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thanks for always being a part of Breakfast Extra. We're going to go on a break now. We've got more discussion coming up the rest of the show.
Hey, welcome back. Now, human trafficking remains one of the gravest human rights violations of our time. It's a global crime that robs millions of their freedom, dignity, and future. From forced labor to sexual exploitation, organ trafficking to domestic servitude, the faces of modern-day slavery are diverse, but the pain is the same. And while the world marks World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, the urgency to combat this scourge has never been greater. In Nigeria, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, and that's NAPTIP, has rescued thousands of victims and persecuted offenders, yet traffickers continue to adapt, using new tactics to exploit vulnerable individuals, including children.
So today we look at the scale of the challenge, the progress made, and what more must be done to unite against human trafficking. Joining us, Mrs. Comfort Agboko, Zonal Commander, Lagos, NAPTIP. You're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
Coming on.
Now, I really want to know exactly what scale of human trafficking are we looking at when we look at the entire concept here in Nigeria. Let's get the statistics.
Let me say good morning to everyone. I bring warm greetings to my DG, Elijah Binta Adamobelu, that's currently the DG of NAPTIP. I want to say that I will not be able to give a specific
figure.
But when it comes to human trafficking, it's so enormous in Nigeria. And we used to think that the hub of human trafficking is used to be Edo State. But in all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, victims are being trafficked on a daily basis to different parts of the world, and from the hinterland to all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Because, you know, trafficking is an act of recruiting, transporting, transfer, harbor, or receipt of persons through the use of deceit, abduction, fraud, for the purpose of exploitation. There are three things that should be present for one to say that somebody is being trafficked. The person must be recruited, the person must be transported, and the person must be exploited. If two factors are present and the third one is not there, it is not human trafficking.
Well, madam, you said something very interesting. Now, there are two questions that I have in mind. Judy, don't worry, I'm going to give you the opportunity to.
Go ahead.
These two questions now. Now, Nigeria, like you've noted, has all of these little points. It's a source, it's a transit point,
and a destination.
It's also a destination.
Yes.
What gives exactly? How does that happen for such a small, well, it's a big African country? But why is Nigeria so?
You know, Nigeria is the largest country in West Africa, and let me say the whole of Africa, if I'm not mistaken. So we have a population of about more than 200 million. And you can't compare us to countries like Republic of Benin, Ghana, or other countries in Africa. With our population, we have an enormous population. And there are many things happening in Nigeria, like the rate of unemployment, you see people graduating, everybody wants to be employed in this white circular job. They want to be employed in the ministries. They don't want to. They don't. It's just nowadays that few people are just realizing that they need to go into vocations, and also, you know, Nigeria, we are faced with the problem of terrorism, banditry, unemployment, poverty, and with all these factors, people are being moved from Nigeria, from the hinterland villages, hamlets, to the cities, from where they are being moved to different parts of the world. When these traffickers, when they want to recruit them, they will tell them, Lagos, we are bringing you to Lagos. That there are jobs in Lagos, there are factories in Lagos.
Land of plenty.
There are plenty, many places you can work in Lagos. When they arrive in Lagos, they move them to Maza. They move them now through the waterways because they now know that the Nigerian Immigration Service, they man the borders, the airport is not as easy for them as before. They focus attention to waterways now. Thank God for the Navy that almost on weekly basis, they rescue victims on the waterways and bring them to our office. As I'm talking to you now, when I woke up, since yesterday around 12 o'clock, I've been working that some victims were being recruited from the south to Lagos. Presently, we are communicating with them. They have left them in a hotel in Maza. The trafficker doesn't even know where they are now. And my own informants are already communicating. And we are going to rescue them today.
A very interesting thing about Maza, which I've known for years, is the point of no return for many trafficked. And so you're talking about the contributing factors and numbers we're seeing in terms of the waterways and those that are being trafficked. But what about women and children as well? If you put them in the mix, especially for children, what is the contributing factors with those who are trafficked for children?
You know, the vulnerables when it comes to human trafficking, they are the women and the children. That doesn't mean men are not vulnerable.
Yeah, I think they're more vulnerable.
But why women are more vulnerable? They are the ones that can sexually be exploited.
Right.
Why men are being exploited when it comes to forced labor,
servitude,
and domestic and servitude, working in plantations. But the men, the women, and we discovered that the children, where they are also more vulnerable is during the course of being sexually exploited, some of these women become pregnant. And when they give birth, they go along with their children. Also, children are more involved because sale of babies is also human trafficking. In a situation whereby baby factories are being operated, it used to be in the south and southeast, but now in Lagos we have baby factories.
Right.
It's a situation whereby some people will be recruited, some teenagers will be recruited, and some men will also be recruited. For instance, about 5 men can impregnate about 20 teenagers.
This happens.
It's happening in Lagos.
Wow.
Because we find this such cases.
It's like an industry.
Yes, it's like an industry. It's happening. And when it happens like that, the so-called traffickers will even connive with different hospitals now, both government and private.
Wow.
And when they give birth, they start selling these children. 1 million, 2 million, it depends on their sexes.
What's the biggest challenge for NAPTIP?
The biggest challenge we have is the general public. Because we believe in NAPTIP. When you see something, you see something. When you are living in an environment and you suspect, the best thing is to voice out. We are not magicians in NAPTIP. We do our work based on information. We have informants around. You don't need to mention your name. You don't need to know your phone number. Just drop the hint on 627. Officers man is 24 hours. And it's the hotline is in our headquarters. As we are talking now, if you call this hotline, it should be picked. And when cases of human trafficking are being reported, officers ensure that they will phone the command, the zonal command or state command. Because presently, NAPTIP has representation in 36 states of the Federation. And Niger and Kogi State, very soon they will have. Delta, we are trusting God.
Okay.
So we are spread all over.
Right.
We have state commands and zonal commands.
Madam
everywhere.
Boko, the term victim is a very interesting one.
Yes.
The term vulnerable individuals is also a very interesting one. And earlier I had asked whether you agree with me that most of these people actually are also instrumental in their own victimization, because they present themselves because of the prevailing factors we have here in Nigeria, as you identified, the economy. So is that, do you agree with that, that not every victim is coerced?
Not every victim, but most of them are being coerced, deceived. Few of them, they know what they are going for, and they succumb. but they are just few. But most of them are being deceived and coerced.
And then apart from that, let's go back to the fact that Nigeria is indeed a source, a destination, and a transient point. What are the factors that make it so? Is it medical unscrupulous practices? Is it the search for labor? Why is it such a three-pronged state in this situation?
The search for greener pasture that is on there. Like I always tell those that care to listen. Trafficking, human trafficking is the modern day slavery. And trafficking had been from the creation of the world. Joseph was trafficked in the Bible. But God allowed it for a purpose. And it was him God eventually used to bail out his people from the land of Egypt. But nowadays, people, they capitalize on the situation. There is no country that will get to in any part of the world that will be picking dollars, euro and pounds on the ground. Nigerians, we are hardworking people, we are intelligent, we are brilliant. But I discovered that, can you imagine somebody that's a bank manager in Nigeria? You have a house that you built by yourself. You have, what's it called? You have an average Nigerian that you are okay, you can feed yourself. And you sell all these things. And now you want to travel abroad. And when you get there, you now discover that you have been deceived. Because it's not only the younger ones that have been trafficked. I can be trafficked.
So isn't that a pointer to the symptom that Nigeria is suffering? And why aren't the authorities tackling these issues from the disease point? My point is, if I'm going to relinquish all of this wealth and say I want to go and suffer abroad, then there's a reason why I'm doing that. So what are the authorities doing, taking all the stats and information that they're getting from all these people who choose to go through these very rigorous means to be trafficked? Is there any notes being given to these symptoms, why people are actually trafficking or being trafficked?
If the Nigerian government is not, does not take trafficking seriously, they will not have established NAPTIP for the past 20. NAPTIP was established 2003, 14 July 2003, with an act of parliament. If Nigerian government, Nigeria, I would say, is the only country in Africa.
Madam, let me be more detailed. Let's take a very specific part of Nigeria. Let's take Edo State. In the past, it used to be because, well, things were very hard. There was not a very big case of educated people there. So you find that most of the people who were getting trafficked were people who were, undereducated. There was a symptom there. It was that people were suffering. What has NAPTIP or any other authority done for the people of Edo State to stop them from trafficking themselves or being trafficked is really my
I don't want us to restrict our discussion to Edo State.
That's just a sample. That's just a sample.
For instance, in Edo State, we have the Nigerian government through NAPTIP has established different empowerment
sectors, sub-MDs and empowerment workshops around it. We know that
they are carrying out sensitization on daily basis. Edo State government has even gone ahead to establish their own anti-human trafficking agency, apart from the established zonal command through NAPTIP by the federal government. So we have two government organizations there now, NAPTIP as a federal government agency and the state's anti-human trafficking agency. They know their problem as a state, and they have tried to find solution. And the federal government is not also being left behind, because the first states that the federal government established a command was Edo State, before Lagos and Kano.
You said the biggest challenge was intel. It was the lack of cooperation from the general public.
Yes.
And then you also said that, the victims who are trafficked oftentimes are well off, but then they still go ahead to do it.
Few of them,
which really points to the notion of there is no perfect victim. right?
Yes.
So besides that intel that you speak of, what else would you like the populace to do? You know, besides just them picking up the phone and calling whenever they see something is array or something is not right, what else would you like for the public to do? What else, what kind of public-private partnership do you think would sort of push the agenda of NAPTIP forward?
What we want the generality of the public to do is they should assist us in sensitizing, educating, enlightening the general public on the dangers of human trafficking, the tactics that are being used by traffickers, and also they should assist us in making sure that when suspects are arrested and investigated, during the course of prosecution, our efforts are not being frustrated. Because in many families, one of the problems we have is we will investigate cases, and when these cases get to the point of conviction or the point of prosecution, they say that, their family members, so I cannot, the victims and their families will be begging NAPTIP. That we don't want this case to go to court. We don't want this prosecution to go to court. And they frustrate us by making sure that witnesses don't come to court.
Besides witnesses and also the trafficked, how about the traffickers themselves? They are ringleaders and they're persons who are actually watching who are traffickers. What are their means of recruitment that have, I know that it has morphed over the years. It's now changing. You now see them do it on social media with the likes of recruiting to go and work on abroad and go to school.
Yeah.
You see
very interestingly, because
tactics
I got such on Instagram only a couple of days ago, and by the time I went into it, I saw how it was falling apart as it goes. But it was very structured on Instagram that you click here if you want a job, so and so.
Right.
Like,
so let's talk about
what we do in NAPTIP is, with the advent of social media, we've also realized that the tactics that are being used by traffickers now on daily basis, they are becoming increased, and freakishly, we will not even know that is trafficking. But we are also, as an agency, trying our best possible to see that when such things, during the course of enlightening the general public, when they see such messages, they don't fall mugu to them. So there are ways. That is why I said that the general public, they should cooperate with us.
All right. Now, we're being informed that our second guest is joining us, Mr. Ajibola. He is the chairman of GFORM, which is the journalists that are against trafficking. And his NGO, just to get that correctly, Mr. Abayomi Ajibola is the president, Journalists International Forum for Migration, GFORM. Mr. Ajibola, many thanks for coming on. We've seen, from the last 20 minutes, we've been having a discussion here with Mr. Bako, and who has given us very big insights from the side of the regulators and the agencies who are doing their best to nib trafficking. But you are on the other side, the NGO. What can you add to this discussion? I know that you're pressed for time, so I'll let you have a go at it.
Hello, I can't hear you.
There must be something in the waters. Mr. Ajibola, can you hear me now? Unfortunately, he cannot hear us. Ma'am, as we are talking about, trafficking and the methods that they're using, persecution for traffickers, I want you to sound the alarm on it. What are they looking at when they're caught?
I want to say to the public that in NAPTIP Acts of 2015, there is no alternative for imprisonment. It used to be, during the course of conviction, it used to be imprisonment. A suspect is being convicted, maybe for imprisonment or payment of fines. Mm-hmm. Now, there is no part of our acts that a suspect will be convicted, mm-hmm. and he or she be asked to pay fines is conviction for either 5 years, 10 years, including fines. And we also ensure that the victims are being compensated. The suspects, we file, our lawyers file along in the courts that they ask for compensation for the victims. Because 2 million, 5 million, or 10 million.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
After the convicts must have finished their jail terms. So when a suspect, a trafficker is being prosecuted, there's no form of alternative of fine.
So you're definitely going to jail.
Yes.
What's interesting about this trafficking whole situation is that before, the Nigerian dream used to be have 2 cars in your parking lot and a home, with 4 children and just a nice paying job. But the Nigerian dream has now changed or morphed over the years to Japa, and that's why we're seeing the numbers that we continue to
Perhaps.
see. Everyone wants to Japa.
Madam Agbako, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. It's unfortunate that our other guest couldn't join us, even if we tried. We'll see that we have that conversation with him subsequently. But thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Do stay tuned. We're entering into another hour, and we've still got very interesting conversation inside for Breakfast Extra. Stay with us. And you're welcome. It's now the 3rd hour for Breakfast Extra, and a very exciting segment is about to begin. I'm very excited. I'll tell you why within. Now, he's been called the area father, the president of frustrated Nigerians, a maverick, a rebel with many causes, and for over 4 decades, Charles Chukwuemeka Oputa, better known as Charlie Boy, has been a bold, unfiltered voice in Nigeria's entertainment and socio-political space. From his eccentric fashion and music career in the 1980s and 90s to his TV hits The Charlie Boy Show, to his fearless activism on issues ranging from youth empowerment to governance and human rights, Charlie Boy has never shied away from challenging the status quo.
So today on Extra Special, we shine the spotlight on the man behind the persona, the singer, songwriter, actor, producer, and advocate whose influence continues to provoke thought, inspire change, and entertain audiences in equal measure. And who better to tell the story than the man himself? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please help us welcome the man himself, Mr. Charlie Boy. He joins us live today as we get started. Mr. Charlie Boy, good morning to you. Father, area father, there we go. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Welcome.
Let's continue with our extra special. Today, our guest is none other than the icon, the legend, Charlie Boy. He joins us live today. Earlier, we were talking about the different hats that he's had to wear in his 4 decades of career, whether on the silver screen or the big screen, whether in music or in activism. Now, earlier on, Mazino was asking you about how you've used your motorbike as a tool for, changing the status quo. Let's talk about that. Yourself and your...
Let's talk about the culture you used as a tool for advocacy. How did that start off, sir?
Started off was, I'm a biker in the first place, and I was doing quite a lot of endorsement for bike brands, in the past. And I'll have a standing order to say to whoever wanted me to endorse their product that you have to give me at least 150 bikes before we start talking about, my fee, my engagement in the process. And as a biker, I started noticing that a whole lot of these Okada people, were just following me up and down. So I started to organize for that community. I would do a lot of rifle draws and outreach. I think till date, I must have given over almost 3,000 Okadas to different people. So, I guess that's how the whole thing became like, it was a cult followership sort of. And that's how the Okada people got into Charlie Boy's affair, and they were a willing community who, because of what I did for them, who built that, we built that rapport together. So that's how they got involved with everything. They helped me in terms of creating other awareness, like the copyright awareness thing, you know, and the respect you now see for the Nigerian artists. You know, they were part of the team that did all of that. That's how it all started in Bagada.
And Bagada.
That seems to be in the news a lot these days, but we might come to that.
Yeah, you have the area father persona, which you just discussed, but I would like to just settle on, you know, your time on television very quickly before we continue with, you know, the persona that is area father. You had Charlie Boy Show, which was then regarded as a variety show, and one of my favorites in the show was the segments, which was the prank segments, where you have, you know, somebody with hidden cameras on the street pranking average Lagosians. And that is somewhat metamorphosed into what we're seeing today in social media. We're seeing, you know, the skit makers, you know, play pranks and everything else. I wonder how it's like for you just sitting in that chair and watching what you did in the 90s now sort of influence this new generation of, you know, content creators.
Yeah, you know, that's what I always say about the bane of the the bane of the pioneers. Nobody is really interested in how things got started, you know, where they originated from, you know, because everybody is so interested in what's trending, what's in the now. But yeah, we started making skits long ago before skits became popular, like the candid camera, you know, that used to be Nigerians' favorite, you know. And then it was fun back in the days because Charlie Boy Show was more or less like a breeding ground for most creative people who wanted to be on TV. And a lot of people were given that opportunity to, you know, show to the nation what they got, you know. And it was one of my very favorite time, you know,
in the media.
This journey.
It's a very interesting journey. It's so multifaceted. You also did movie. There was Backstab. There was Zoom Zoom. But particularly Backstab had a very interesting format because Backstab sort of started backwards and then you went on to tell the story eventually. So that's just the little
end
way.
was the beginning.
The end was the beginning. It's one of the ways you've influenced culture currently. We've talked about social media, but then there's also the fact that when it comes to the Charlie Boy Show, it was the pioneer satire show. And Father, what you don't know is that here every single morning we actually take leave from that. Every weekend morning we start the show with a satire piece that goes for about 10 minutes. And personally, I take that from the fact that I was a very religious viewer of the Charlie Boy Show. When it comes to satire as a tool for change in society or governance or policies, how do you see maybe its use or lack of it in Nigerian media landscape currently?
Well, right now, a lot of people are doing things towards that direction. There's some brilliant skits, you know, which have been coming out. There's a particular guy I've been following. I think it's called Governor Munike or whatever, you know. But yes, I'm loving the creativity that I'm seeing right now, and yeah, for some, they want to whatever truth they need to, you know, say to the government. They want to lace it up with a little comedy so we could laugh at ourselves and laugh at our stupidity sometimes, you know.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm glad with what I see right now.
That's beautiful.
I wonder if you're also, glad about how, the times have also changed. And I want to talk about that from your personal style and also your persona that you have embodied over the years. At first, it was shunned upon, right? You were the son of a man who is, in his own right, one of the biggest icons, especially in our, judicial and legal landscape. And you came off as an outlier, so to speak, and with your leather jacket and your piercings and your tattoo and larger than life. But also behind that was a stroke of genius in the type of creativity that you have done. But that persona in the 90s and late 80s was not accepted. In fact, it was frowned upon, and you were labeled the black sheep. Years after, these are the type of persona that's celebrated. We can see the likes of Rema and the rest who have taken on this rock star, bad boy persona. What do you say to that? Just looking at how the times have changed, and you were somewhat of a pioneer of that as well.
Yet these people are celebrated now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I used to have big fights with my father, and he would say, nobody's going to understand this. So, in fact, they'll think that you're irresponsible. Why do you have to look like this? Why can't you wear a suit and tie? For a long time, I was living in the shadow, in the overwhelming shadow of my father, and I hated that. And I hated him, for that, because I was always introduced as Charles Soputa, the son of so. And when my father did confront me with that question, why are you doing this? Why you keep going around with Okada people, miscreants and stuff like that? I said, well, I want to get to where I'm going fast, and this is futuristic. And if they think that if they don't understand it yet, they'll come to understand it, later. Because I know what consistency means. As long as you are consistent, you stay focused, you probably eventually, attain your dreams. He didn't know that. But it was a switch when my father started going around and introducing himself as Charlie Boy's father. Of course, it was a different tone. And that's just to say to young people that whatever your dream may be, as long as you remain tenacious, consistent, and follow your rainbows, you'll probably get there. And I'm glad I listened to my inner voice. I listened to myself.
All right.
And now I'm here, and I'm glad that I made my parents so proud before they exited. Yeah.
Sir, father.
I did it my way.
You did do it your way, and you influenced generations after. Now let's talk about that influence. That influence was so big. And in recent times, due to recent developments that have to do with name change here and there, you were on plenty of media. And you noted something very interesting where you referred and compared Lagos to New York, which is a no man's land. So I'm wondering exactly why this comparison. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to erode the cultural relevance of indigenous people like the Awori in Lagos? What exactly did you mean by Lagos being a no man's land?
I didn't say, I wasn't the one who said Lagos is a no man's land. But I was just given what I felt was an analysis of how I saw it all, okay? Because after all, we're indigenes of this space before people started to gather, because it was the capital. They had a seaport, and there was a lot of business going on here. And people from all over the country gathered here, So if I say it like New York, which is more or less, or you can say America, which is more or less like a melting pot of different people from different places who had gathered in America. And that's why I'm not too happy with the rhetorics of somebody like Donald Trump, because America was built on the back of immigrants, okay? And I think the same is applicable to Lagos, if you ask me. So it was on that basis that I made those comparisons. If people want to take it out of context, now their own. If Bigos wants to shout, hey, go back to your... But, you know, most of the time, I know that we're just being silly, we're just being petty, politics is coming, and this is, you know, the kind of politics that we play here.
Now, it's very interesting, Father, that you would actually use...
Very wrong.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you actually bring in immigrants here, especially as it applies to America. But let's use that here in our own context, Nigeria, and the fact that Nigerians have such a big influence on other cultures. Only recently, the Igbo kingdom in Ghana wanted to establish themselves in that territory, and it has brought a lot of it has ruffled a lot of feathers, where we now have a hashtag Nigerians must go. Looking at it from where we stand as a very big people with our boisterous vibe and everything, what do you feel about the instance currently happening in Ghana, where we are being asked to evacuate the place by the people because of that influence that we bring, that footprints that we're trying to change other people's heritage by saying that we have a claim to their land?
Nobody's changing anybody's heritage. Your heritage remains your heritage, you know. I mean, you know, this is what people do when it's time for politics, like what I see that is going on in Lagos. You know, why is it that it's only when, you know, we want to do politics that it's the same playbook, you see. You know, they're always doing that. They've been doing that ever since I can remember. They pitch us against each other, you know, and then we fight over nothing. Because all of this, you see, all of what's going on, it's a distraction. As far as I'm concerned, I want to know whether my vote will really count come 2027. That's what we should be talking about now, not a change of name, you know. And I didn't put up a bus stop sign myself. I didn't ask that I be given a bus stop. It just happened because of, I think, what I've done for that community.
Do you think that the renaming of the bus stop will sort of erase what you've done for that community, the legacy of what you've done for that community?
I'm hoping you heard her, sir. Let me echo what she said. She just asked if you think that the erasure of your name from that bus stop will affect the legacy that you left behind many years ago.
Oh, to the freaking no.
Why do you say so? Because there are younger generations coming up.
You can be wiping things and putting new names, but how do you wipe it away from the impact and the impressions it's made on people's heart, people's mind, people's head? Yeah. Today, Shebi, they say, what's it called now? PHC or the electricity company. But what we know is NEPA. When you talk about seasoning, you know, as a chef, what we know is Maggi. You understand? So that's going to be around for a long, long time to come. You know,
right?
People will gravitate towards things that are more organic in nature than what is like pressuring everybody. I'm hearing my echo.
Apologies. The new age of live television is very overstimulating. People don't know this. Apologies,
Sorry
sir.
about that.
Forgive us. But as we wind down, right, I have two things to say. Number one, you look fabulous. What are the secrets behind you looking the same way that you did 20 years ago? What's going on? Share the secrets. And then lastly, you talked about your father. What was it like towards the end of his life and you know, the relationship between the both of you?
Let me start with my father towards the end of his life. It was like he wanted to ride more of my bike. You know, I would carry him though. And then the first time he got on the back, when he said a little faster, and I was like, am I hearing correctly? This old man is telling me a little faster on my bike. He was so overjoyed, overwhelmed. It's like, oh, finally, you knew what you've been doing all along, you know, because I have my Zazavu, and he didn't quite understand that. And the reason for my youthfulness is simple. I don't permit stress in my life, you know. I've fought so many battles in the past, so, you know, nothing is like new for me. I've been there, I've done that, but the thing I admire most is my interaction and relationship with the Nigerian youths. That has kept me nimble, humble, and I've learned quite a lot from the exceptional people. You know, I always say that the salvation of this country lies in the hands of its exceptional youths. And I've met very exceptional Nigerians, you know, in this journey of mine. Plus, because I've been there, I've done that. I don't stress like I used to. I take it more easy. I sleep a whole lot. And I still have very, very, you know, friends who are like my children, you know. And I take the Nigerian situation with a pinch of salt. I don't let the toxicness of the environment affect me that much. And you know, I'm an exercise freak. I'm a health freak. You know, so you know that keeps me agile.
It's a very interesting way that you put it, sir, especially when you noted that you are in touch with the current generation who are making changes, who form the larger part of Nigeria when it comes to population. These are the people who will make votes come 2027. Since you're still an influential figure, I'm wondering what your takes are on behalf of the youth, as we look on to another election year where we have oppositions that are coming out the woodwork and an opposition that seems to be breaking apart with a very strong party in power. What are your advice to the youth now as it regards the election year coming?
Everybody should be mindful and keep talking about how our votes will count in 2027, because we can't afford to have a repeat of 2023. I've always said that he who is down needs fear no fall. We think will make us fear again. Hunger won't buy everybody. We all shop at the same market. Okay, things are hard across board. It's not easy for the Yoruba or the Fulani, the Hausa, than it's easier for an Igbo man. So you see, we are all in this spot. And like I keep saying too, the day the Nigerian, those exceptional people that I talk about, the day they decide to wake up, which is coming soon, I think I'll be leading that protest. Maybe that will be my last protest. But all that I pray for is the fact that may I see this change, this galvanization towards a new Nigeria, may I see it in my lifetime.
Mr. Charlie Boy, I want to say thank you so much for just being and gracing us with your presence and just honoring this invitation It's been sublime, and it's a dream come true, at least for me, I will say, to have you on television.
I, on the other hand, wanted to say something very special to you. As someone who watched you growing up and find myself here actually practicing what I learned from you, I want to say thank you on different levels. I also wanted to say thank you for the phone call we had on Thursday, which I put out to you to invite you on the show because it was a very unique phone call. You spoke to me like a person. There were no airs. It didn't seem like you are a superstar, which you are. You were talking to another person. Your calm demeanor was absolutely reassuring. You talked to me like a brother, not even a grandson. And because of that, sir, I want to say thank you very much. That was an experience for me. If I could frame it and put it on a wall, I would have done that since yesterday. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Oputa.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
It's an experience.
Your mouth too sweet.
Shame. Well, we be the same now.
Yeah, you.
Thank you very much, sir. That's another honor.
I thank you both for having me. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Have a great weekend.
We will. You too.
That was Charlie Boy there, our guest on here, our very extra special guest, very extra special guest. Let's go on a short break, shall we?
Let's make it a long break because I have to take all of that in. Let's go on a long break and we'll be back.
When we come back, we will switch our focus from Nigeria this time to Cameroon as the presidential race is heating up. After the break, stay with us. And welcome back. Now, with just months to Cameroon's presidential election, the political landscape has been shaken by a major development: the disqualification of prominent opposition leader Maurice Kamto from the race. Kamto, leader of the Cameroon Resistance Movement, or Renaissance Movement, I beg your pardon, and runner-up in the 2018 elections, was barred by the Constitutional Council over what is described as procedural irregularities in his candidacy file, a decision that has sparked outrage among his supporters and drawn condemnation from other opposition figures, including Kawala and Akire Muna.
So critics say this move undermines democratic competition in a country where President Paul Biya has held power for over 4 decades. The government insists the process was fair and in line with electoral law. So what does Kamto's exclusion mean for the opposition, voter confidence, and also Cameroon's democratic future? Joining us to unpack this is Ashu Nyeti, editorialist and political analyst. You are welcome, Ashu. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We are short on time, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask. Hang on a second. I'm being informed that I have that name wrong. Mr. Martins, I want to apologize for introducing you as somebody else. But Martins, since we have you here now, let me start by asking you the question. Maurice Kamto's disqualification has dominated political conversations in Cameroon this week. What exactly do procedural, what's it called now? What does that mean? What procedures were not followed that led to his disqualification?
Oh, hello, good morning, and thank you.
Thank you very much,
Good morning.
To the best of my knowledge, Cameroon has what they call the Elections Cameroon, which is the body that organizes and supervises elections. And it is the same body, I mean, if you remember, there were over 80 candidates who applied, who put in their applications to run for the office of president. And Professor Kamto was one of them, and this list was cut down to 13, I think. And unfortunately, Professor Kamto, as per the Elections Cameroon, did not meet the criteria which they set. So Professor Kamto has another chance. There's the Constitutional Council, which he can go and appeal his decision not to be included as a runner for the presidential elections. So I have been speaking to my friends who are of the legal profession, and they're kind of split in the middle. Some think there is a case for Elections Cameroon to answer, and others think that Elections Cameroon has played by the rules. But I think the final arbiter, the Constitutional Council, will let us know whether the professor qualifies to stand as a candidate or not.
Now, Kamto is one of the most recognizable opposition figures in Cameroon. Just let's talk about his significance of the absence of his significance, how significant his absence will be from the ballot for the opposition's chances in this election. Will there be any opposition at all?
Well, I mean, we cannot deny that he is a household name and is a prominent figure in the politics of Cameroon. But there are others as well, like the former ministers who have just left government. We're talking about Issa Bakari and Bello Buba. But of course, there's also the party that used to be the main opposition party, the Social Democratic Front, the SDF, that has a candidate in the person of Honorable O.C. Joshua. And of course, there is the emblematic international lawyer of Peter, Barrister Keremuna. So yes, Kamto not being part of the race for now doesn't look too well, but he's not the only one, and there was no guarantee, or there is no guarantee that if he stood, he will win.
Now, as we're looking at the future, we understand that Kamto has somewhat he's appealed on this disqualification. What do you think the next play will be for the electoral body?
Well, if he appeals and his appeal is accepted, then he will be put on the ballot. If his appeal is rejected, then if he genuinely, really wants change in the country, then he should work with the other opposition figures whose names are on the ballot paper and put his weight behind them, so the change that he and most Cameroonians seek can come through. He can still have a role to play in the political discourse in Cameroon. He doesn't have to be the king. He can end up being the kingmaker, which is still an important role for someone who wants change.
So let's talk about political pluralism in Cameroon. Seeing that Kamto here has been disqualified, do you think that this was an instrument put in place by the current President Paul Biya? Let's ask that difficult question.
Well, I tend to have an open mind about these things. The history of Professor Kamto, don't forget that he used to be a member of the government. He left and set up his own outfit. And currently, he's actually applying for the position of his application to be president, to run as a presidential candidate, came not from the party that he set up, but from another party. And that seems to be where the difficulties are, because the party fielded two candidates. I am no legal expert, so my knowledge of this is very limited. But like I said before, I've had opportunities to speak with some of my friends of the legal fraternity, and they are evenly split.
Evenly split. But you also said that the way you framed your submission is very interesting. You said you're not too sure about whether or not this was a play or power play by the president himself or those who are interested in the elections come months ahead. But from what we've seen the president do, from what Biya has done, don't you think that this is a dictatorship at this point, and he will crush any opposition if he has to continue to clinch power?
Well, I am of the opinion that the problem is not really with the current head of state, but with Cameroonians, because we are the ones who have allowed this particular narrative to fester for the last 40 years. So, the president is doing what he has to do or what he thinks he should do, and it's left for the rest of us, if we don't like what's happening, to fight our corner.
I think it's unfair
For me to say Kamto has been disqualified authoritatively, I must have enough to go with. And I don't have anything that I can tell you about the speculation that everybody like yourselves are saying.
My final question is, with Kamto's dismissal or removal, does this affect the average Cameroonian voter in any way? Would they be, motivated to not come out, since perhaps a very big icon has been taken away from the ballot?
On the contrary, I think him not being part of the electoral process should spur Cameroonians to actually push forward for something different that they want. So like I said before, if he is finally not allowed to run, he should throw his weight behind other political figures to have the change that he so desires, and all of us in Cameroon will like.
Well, I would like to leave it there. I want to say thank you so much, because I mean, there are no perfect victims. The way you just framed it, that Cameroonians are really the ones that fought for making this man stay in power for 40 years, it now begs to ask a question about the constitutional reforms he's done with the electoral body and everything else that he continues to do and he plays at. You know, there's just so much your hands can do, and even the integrity of the polls itself. But that would be a discussion for an entire day, for a completely different time. Mr. Iwoma.
The complicity of many others.
And thank you. You put it there because you were blaming Cameroonians. That was not fair. But I must say thank you, Mr. Iwoma, for just coming on here and giving us your insight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Indeed. Well, Judith, what a show.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not done gloating, so I'm hoping that we can end this so I can go choke the producer, who doesn't give us our laurels all too often.
About?
Yeah, well, we had Charlie Boy on.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I share your excitement, but I've also had the opportunity of being a very secret project with him, and he's such a delight, such a delight. Indeed. He does this thing where if you get to meet him, he'll tell you, if he's talking to you and he sees something, he'll tell you, give me a hand, and then he reads your palm, and then he goes. So he did to me as like a billionaire, right? He loves to take your look at.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
talking about our high point for the show here, but we had others, and of course we intend to have more come tomorrow, the Sunday edition. We're expecting that you'll join us 8 o'clock. There's going to be a very riveting monologue coming up, and trust me, you want to listen to this one. So join us then. Until then, from myself and Judith at TB, we say good morning.
Adios.
See you guys tomorrow.
Goodbye. See you 8 o'clock tomorrow. Bye now.